I'm on the wrong screen. Epic. Very cool. Anyways, hello everyone, and welcome to me not knowing how to use OBS, part 276. That's not true, I do know how to use OBS, I'm just being an idiot. Anyways, we are here in Portugal for round 8 of the F2 season. We're currently in the standings. The standings are wrong because we've technically got an appeal that needs to be posted or whatever, and then the standings will be right. But we'll go with these standings. Anson leads the way. With, if they would load, you know what, give me a sec. Oh, Kowalski's run off a bit off track there. Doesn't matter on an outlap. But we'll go on board with the Alpine anyway for the first lap of the day, because why not? So, round in the final corner, it doesn't really benefit you to take a longer line as possible. Although, I don't know, some of my drivers might prefer to do so. Anyways, coming into turn 1, named Primeira, which means first in Portuguese. I said this yesterday. It doesn't extend it as much as you can, but probably just wants to get a banker on the board. Into turn 3, a bit deep. It's going to compromise him all the way down to turn 5, the hairpin, as there's a Haas in front. Hopefully the Haas does not compromise Sabelski. Through my hairpin of turn 5 then, gets it quite nice to be fair. And then through turn 6, 7, and then into Samsung turn 8, and he's ran wide, so we'll quickly jump on board with Sam behind, who raced yesterday and got P5 in F3. And he's racing here again in F2 today. As manages to get Portimao nicely. Very creative corner name, the same as the track. The Portuguese, you know, very inventive people, and this track clearly shows that. I don't know, I'm waffling at this point. Anyways, we're in the final corner for Sam to set the first lap of the day. What is it going to be? It's going to be a 1:18.9. I think he's already beat his best time from yesterday, or no, that might have been just his banker from yesterday, I don't know. David, what can you do? 18.3. That's much quicker lap time. As we have a new driver for today, Alex Welsh, just starting his lap. So we'll jump back on board in a min at the end of his lap to see how he's getting on. We have Hugo flying the flag for Red Bull alongside David today. David, you know, just jumping in and reserving, as Ennis thinks we should avoid the F3 race. I think, personally, I can't remember anything that happened in the race because it was a bit dull. As Hugo goes P1, Caleb jumps to P3. There's an Aston who's going to the pit lane. Lassay's on an outlap. Anson's on an outlap. So we go all the way to Theo Smith, who's invalidated. So then we go to Alfred Monk, it would have been. So there's Paul Madler. Okay. Paul's about 4 tenths down on what Hugo did in the middle sector. So he'll probably be looking around where Caleb is, coming up to the line now. And just behind him, with a 16.7, as Hebelski goes to P5. My brakes got tested nicely to refresh your memory. True. But let's move on to whatever's going on here. Alex Wells, first qualifying, a great middle sector split. Lost a bit in the final sector compared to Hugo. Maybe that is wings, I don't know. But P2 on your first lap in the league. That's not bad. Just beating out David by 2 thousandths of a second. As we have Anson here coming through the final sector. Carl's getting out the way at the moment. which is good to see. We had a few issues with that in F3. We had a weird collision into the hairpin. I think both drivers weren't on a lap, so it was more kind of, I don't even know. Lassie's gone P4 and is immediately displaced by Anson, who then takes P4. As Theo Smith beats Hugo by 22 thousandths of a second and takes provisional pole position on these banker runs. Here we go then. Alfred Monk has run a bit wide, got away with it there. I mean, if you just move slightly off the racing line, stay off track for longer, then you can get away with it. We're not going to penalise you for it because the game's track limits here are very questionable. Anyways, back to what I was talking about with the standings. Anson leads the way by 7 points over Rogerwell, who's not here today, unfortunately. So it's a big race for Anson. And Alfa Romeo, they're 60 points ahead from the constructors, so there's even more of a chance for them to get a bigger lead. Caleb Boy, his teammate, sits third, 10 points behind. And then Jacob Pavelski is fourth, currently sits P9 in qualifying. As every single driver's in the 118s. We're not having another Zandvoort-esque quali, because Zandvoort was cursed. We don't want that. I never want to watch a race like Zandvoort ever again. I hope. As Alfred Monk then to the line, it's going to be a 118.6. Puts him pretty much in the middle of the pack at the moment. Not a bad time, to be fair. And I'm going to make sure I keep Discord loaded to keep up to date with reading stuff. As Adam's going to join me in a bit. Lovely. He was in AI mode, was on a lap because I wanted to do a double hot lap. Oh. Yeah, that's not ideal. AI mode is clapped. To say the least, it doesn't work very well. As Carl, I think, is returned to the pitch. Yeah, Carl wasn't even on a lap. Well, there was no one else out on track, so, I mean, yeah. I guess. I think Alfred's trying to regenerate battery or he's out of fuel. I'm going to go with the out of fuel. As Carl's left the session. We got Sam though. He's about to go again. So we don't need also, Lucas Rudd, if you're wondering why he's in the pit lane, he's got a quali ban for the whole weekend. Any session he participates in, and well, I'll give you some insight. A quali ban at Portugal doesn't matter because half the grid will spin out anyway. So if Lucas isn't one of those, which I mean he spun yesterday but still finished P4, so if he just avoids that, then yeah, he'll be in a good place. About half a quali to go. I'm completely missing out people who are on a lap. I'm not focusing, apparently. But Sam's a 10th up in Sector 1 already. That's a really good start. Back of the grid, we're 3rd and 4th at one point quite early yesterday. Yeah, it was like lap 5 of the race that they were. Shows that qualifying here didn't really matter yesterday. It might matter a bit more today. I don't think everyone's going to bin it within 2 seconds today. This is a Williams spinning. I think that's Alex Wells. I think he's just slowing down to start a lap. Anyway, Sam is a 10th and a half up purple middle sector. That could be true. It wasn't a bad middle sector. But it could also be that the game just decided why not have a purple middle sector. Maybe he messed up the final sector before. But yeah. Coming around the final corner now. Flat 8. Keep it in the track limits on the exit. Doesn't take much of a tight line to the line, but it's not that beneficial. And moves up to P10. Not bad. As Paul Madler is 8 tenths up. This is looking like a first 117 a day. Not quite 18.0, but still very, very good lap from the Haas driver. Jacob Pavelski up to P6. slots himself nicely into the thick of things. Jan Nader has invalidated and will not have to move out of the way of Anson. As I don't know what Caleb's middle sector was, I think it was 2/10 up, I want to say. As Lasse is also disconnected. That's 2 drivers. Not ideal. Caleb's not got much battery here. He's going to be cutting it close up to the line. And it's going to be a 81, puts him P2 just ahead of others. As Alex Wells will be next, is improving to P2 just behind Paul Nadler. As that was Hugo starting a lap. Is David Hoy on a lap? He's 20 seconds David. So yeah, that's not going to be a representative lap time from him. Alfred Monk is starting a lap. Theo Smith has invalidated, but has the battery to go again. So that's going to be an issue for him. Sam jumps into the pits. Paul Madler into the pits as well, and also Habelski. So we go back to Jan then, who yet to set a lap in this session, doesn't actually have fuel or battery, so might come to the pits here, to be fair. Takes a pretty offline and has Anson 6/10 up right behind him. But I don't think that's going to affect Anson here. Who comes around the final corner. As does Jan. Jan's going to set a 89. Anson goes top of the timings with a 79. That's a very, very solid time. Fair play there, as we also have Hugo, the Red Bull. His time seems slow. No, it doesn't. 160. This might be pole now, actually. Oh my, yeah, okay, right. Famous last words. Time seems slow. Grid's no longer within 1 second, Adam. Grid's now within 1.5 because Hugo's gone and dropped that. Fair play. A 1:17.4 is a huge lap time. Alfred is going again in the Williams, so he's got the battery to do so. If he found 3 attempts, he could go up to 7th. But he's probably got a bit more than that in his lap. As once again, running a bit wide at turn 1. As Adam says that the wardrobe he ordered from IKEA was missing some screws. He's blaming Hugo for it. And well, my thoughts would be get a flight to Sweden, the next one, find Hugo and ask him for some screws. That's the solution you want to take, but it could work as Alfred's a 10th up. And well, we got to see his lap nicely while I've been waffling about wardrobes. Can Alfred find a bit more pace out of the closet? Is the question. We're all asking, and he has moved up to P9, but I reckon there's definitely more time in that lap. It'll be ooh, interesting. Car coming out of the pits almost destroyed him. Carl had a 52.8 middle sector. That's like fairly decent, but it seems like he's spun. As Carl's into the pits, he'd just be able to get in and out in time. But the first person starting the final run is going to be Sam. He's got a good bit of screen time today as he almost ended his lap before he even got out on track, or he got it right into the start-finish line. But yeah. We are moving on. Here, with Sam. Good run up turn 4 there. could have carried a tiny bit more speed, but he's a 10th up, so, you know. Beggars can't be choosers. A 10th will do in the first sector for him. If he can find another one of those in each sector, then he'll be up to P8, which is a solid result for an F3 driver, in my opinion, coming into F2. Especially considering Sam had his best race of the season in Portugal with the P5. He's had a few, you know, issues with disconnecting, but he's managing to get that more sorted, and that's a really nice middle sector. That's 3.5 tenths up. Yeah, that's a really good run there for him. And as long as he has an alright final sector, that should see him comfortably in P8. Maybe if there's more time in the final sector, could move up, challenge the likes of David. And if there's that much time, he could even challenge Theo or Caleb. As up to line A for Sam, it is a 18.4 P8. That is a solid lap. Who do we have? We have most people just starting the lap, to be fair. I think Lasse might be on his way. He's 3 tenths down at the moment. He's still pushing that. So it hasn't backed off. So maybe the timing's bugged or something. And he's still 3 tenths down. So we'll go on board with Alfred Monster died in the pit lane, I think. They'll go on board with Alex Wells. Almost matched his first sector directly. And he's 2.5 tenths up in the middle sector. Can Alex go for a front row start in his first races? Unless he's got a monstrous amount of time in the final sector. He's not going to quite match Hugo, who has put in an exceptional lap time out here. As Alex now to the line. What can he do? It's going to be P2 at a 17.8. That's a really, really solid time. Theo Smith just starting the lap. David Hoyt is down, but he can go again just about, I think. Same with Hugo. So we'll look at Sam, who has backed off and is letting, I think, Carl through, who couldn't quite make it to the line to start the lap there. Paul has invalidated, well, 2.5 tenths up. That's unfortunate. What about the Alfa Romeos? We've got Caleb here, still on his lap. And let's have a look what he can do in the final sector. As he's now coming up to the line. Looks like Anson's had a bit of a spin. Caleb goes P3. What about Jan in the Aston? Jan jumps up to 7th. That's a very nice time. Lasse's not improving. What about Habelski? As there's a Red Bull round. I don't know which Red Bull that is. What can Habelski do? He's going to need to find a lot of time. He has found a lot of time. P4 for Habelski. Very solid as Hugo is spinning. But it's not like it mattered for him, as his first run was already good enough to pretty much secure him where he wanted to be. Theo Smith also has invalidated, so that's going to be your qualifying order for this race. Hugo pulling out the big guns today. A 17.4 is a very good lap. Alex Wells joins him on the front row, followed very closely by Caleb White and Nabelski. 2 drivers in the championship. Hugo. Hugo. I don't know what Hugo's doing. Anyways, on the third row is Anson Wong, our current championship leader, and Paul Nadler. We'll have to wait a sec for the rest. Imagine the scenes if Hugo got disqualified. I thought he was for a second, or I thought he was gonna. Anyways, so we then have Theo Smith and Jan Nader on the 4th row, David Hoy and Sam Hussein on the 5th row, then an all-Danish 6th row in a massive Swedish sandwich. This is interesting. All we needed was Hugo in there as well, and you'd have the ultimate Scandinavian. I don't even know. Anyways, time to get on with the race. What everyone is here to see. No one's here to see quali, unless you prefer quali. I mean, wasn't the closest we've had. Everyone who set a lap was within 1.1, so that's not bad. But I'm expecting, if everyone makes it through turn 1, okay. Turn 1 sort of sets the tone for the race here at Portugal. If turn 1's carnage and 12 cars upside down, then the race is going to be carnage, and we're going to have about 4 finishers, which I hope doesn't happen for the sake of Leon. If turn 1 is, you know, like 1 spin or something, or like just everyone makes it through. Few people have to run wide always, that's just how turn 1 is. And if you do get a warning running wide at turn 1, you can always get it removed. Unless you literally go flat out. It's like you're just going off track to avoid the carnage, then yeah, go ahead. Like, not obviously taking the mick where there's space on the track for you to stay on, but you know. If it's going to be dangerous, then yeah, go ahead. Anyways, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Hope you enjoyed counting as we are underway here in Portugal, as it looks like Hugo's got a good reaction and he's going to be able to maintain his lead into turn 1. Caleb White's also got a good reaction in the Alfa Romeo. Having a look to challenge there as everyone is making their way through. No one's ringed, no one's dead in turn 1, which is always good to see. There is about 4 white. There is a pile driving happening at the back, as there's a Haas ghosting through everyone, which is causing a few issues. Anyways, Hugo has managed to get away the best. Let's have a look at the tyre choice from everyone. Hards and mediums all around. Bit of a mixed bag today, which is always interesting to see. We're going to see a few different strategies in this race, it seems then. And it also shows why Caleb got a good start in the Alfa Romeo as well. The mediums provided the extra grip that he needed off the start line, as there is a move further back. Lucas Rudd already up to 8th after, well, he's obviously serving another quali ban. Someone had damage, I know. I think it was David. Yeah, it was David Hoy in the Red Bull, unfortunately for him. As Caleb White looking to put Alex Wells under pressure here in the Williams, and early on he's going to want to try and get into the lead of the race, as we haven't had them. Very nice. We also have something at the final corner. There's been an explosion. Someone's set a landmine at the final corner, and we've got 4 drivers in the pit lane. Very nice.
I think I might have cursed that by joining chat, because that was the first I heard from you.
Yeah, we've got 2
Astons. We have a double stack Aston Martin as well, which isn't going to be ideal for those guys either.
Yeah, we also have a Red Bull and a Merc. You know, just to add to, I'd do about 3 front wings I saw. I think someone's lost it and collected everyone else. It's probably the best.
That would make sense. I was in comms with David yesterday, so I would imagine he's going to go medium to the end of the race. Take that extra set of mediums that you can get access to. But the top 9 are all still pretty close together here. We might end up with a bit of a DRS train.
I mean, Lucas was not in DRS, and so Sam, as Hugo's going bye-bye and trying to leave.
He is trying to, but if Alex can get a bit of a wriggle on, or maybe even let Caleb go.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's probably,
with
if Caleb
medium
gets
tyre
through, he'll
advantage.
probably keep with Hugo. Caleb's all over the back of him here. I think he needs to use a bit of that battery early on here to make the progress, and he's got a good run at the final corner there, but Alex seems to be running lower wings as Caleb's deploying battery all the way. Alex is also deploying battery all the way, to be fair, so they're about even. And Alex is going to maintain the position as we have Paul and Anson side by side. Anson has to go a bit off-road there, but that's no harm caused, really. As
I
it's
think
going to
with
be
a
side
little
by
bit of
side.
off-roading at Primera,
Oh,
but
turn
maybe
4.
don't want to go side by side at some fun. Very well to keep it clean. Tractors like to just wash you out.
Anson got the
And then
DRS.
Anson just about playing the DRS chicken to perfection. And is going to make that move into Torrey
He's
But
not,
Paul's going to
though.
come back at him.
Paul's got a
Better
good
exit
run.
here from the Haas.
And they're going to go side by side into 7 and 8, as I think Paul's going to have this one. But Anson's got the better driver in the outside.
Far better drive around the outside up the hill.
As they're going to head now up towards 9 and 10, as we now head
Paul's
into
gone off
quarter
track,
where Paul's gone off track, and I think that's actually helped him get the position, to be fair. As Paul moves up into 5th place, and well, that's a way to start the race.
Well, it takes it. Oh, it's disconnected me. Lol. But it takes a full lap to make a move. You know, it's going to be a pretty crazy track to try and overtake on.
As Alex has managed to get himself in that DRS, so Caleb's not going to have too much of an advantage on him, but he's going to try and deploy the advantage he does have here, and he's going to go past Alex. I don't think Alex wants to fight this one. I think he's realised that he can sort of just get dragged along by Caleb. As Lassay's also moved past Lucas Rudd for P8, but Lucas is going to try fight this one back, and we're going to have another situation with 2 drivers side by side here. And well, Lucas has managed to come out on top in the Mercedes there, and we'll keep that position for now.
If Alex feels he can stick within that sort of roughly 1 second window with Hugo, having Caleb in the middle really isn't going to hamper him at all.
Yeah.
So it's not a terrible idea. It means that if Hugo does get a good lap, if he makes a small mistake somewhere, I mean, that gap between the two of our lead hard runners has grown to almost a second and a half, just over a second and a half now. Well, Alex, if he hadn't have been overtaken by Caleb, would have lost the DRS, as we've got David spinning at the back. So not a good start to the race for the Red Bull. But still hanging on in 12th place. Have to see if he can make up some spaces, maybe capitalise on some of the other errors we are likely to see. A tricky track on traction with all the undulation. It's a bit of a roller coaster here at Portimao, and I wouldn't imagine we're going to see too many drivers make it to the end of the race without a spin.
As Caleb and Alex managed to get themselves into DRS, and that's just going to help them maintain their gaps really in this early stage of the race. That will be quite important to do, as Alex has just dropped out there. He's had a bit of a nightmare through turn 1, I think, or Caleb's just had a perfect turn 1 as he's right on the back of Hugo now.
And he has more battery than the Red Bull in the lead as well, so really making the most of these medium tyres. And Caleb kind of needs to make this move and try and scamper off into the distance over the next 10 laps or so before he pits, because he is going to be at a disadvantage in the second half of the race, assuming no safety cars, of course. If there was a safety car fairly early on, he would get the advantage of being able to pit on to some hard tyres and get them to the end. You could probably just about make it from here if your tyre management's a little bit alien, whereas there's absolutely no chance you're getting mediums to the end from here, so that is definitely going to play into his hands if there is an early safety car. But considering we've managed to survive basically 5 laps without one, I think it's going to need something to kind of kick off if we're going to get a safety car here. I think the closest real fight on track
It's probably
apart from Caleb and Hugo.
Or is Paul
Yeah,
and
or
Belsky.
is Lucas and Lassie and Belsky and Paul. Yeah, looking
Here
at
comes Caleb. He's going to go for it into turn 1 now. And Hugo's going to try and hang it around the outside. Leaves the room for Hugo. Some nice driving between the two of them, but Caleb is going to come out on top. Hugo's going to try a bit of a switchback as Caleb does run a bit deep into the corner. And he's going to have the benefit of the DRS here down towards Torrey Vip. And this has all brought Alex Wells closer to the front fight here, which is, you know, going to benefit him out. As I think Hugo's main priority should just sit here and follow Caleb along. He can do that as well. He's going to have the advantage in the second stint, and well, if he can make sure that the Alfa Romeo doesn't get away, then the mediums will not get as much of an advantage as they well will if he does manage to break that DRS and build a bit of a gap. So I think that's just going to be the key thing for Hugo to be able to do here, but he is going to be under pressure from Alex to stay with the Alfa Romeo. If Alex feels Hugo isn't getting on with it enough, he could try and make a move and do the work himself.
Yeah, and what
Just
these guys are doing as well is they're bringing Paul Nadler back into this. He's managed to clear Jacob Abelski on the last lap. Really kind of put the hammer down a little bit on the mediums that he is running on. And he's closed that in. He's just a couple of tenths outside the DRS now. Hugo just about got it, but then lost time through the final corner. But Alex is going to take a look into turn 1. So Hugo is going to be on the inside. May just be able to fend the Williams off here. And just manages to break that little bit later, carry a bit more speed through the apex, and hold on to P2 for now. But he has dropped out of Caleb's DRS. So he's going to be a little vulnerable into Tori Vip this time round. And Paul has got a really good turn 1 and 2, along with Jacob, and they've both joined onto the back of this DRS. Although Hugo, with a great drive through turn 4, manages to stay ahead pretty comfortably, really. And we're not too far off Anson and Alfred Monk joining on the back of these two as well. And making it kind of like a 6-car train for P2, all behind Caleb at the front.
Any mistakes from Caleb as well drops him back into this, and that's not where he'll want to be on the mediums. I think Paul's going to be a bit frustrated in this train, but if he can manage to get a move on the mediums within the next lap or two, maybe if there's a mistake from either Hugo or Alex, and he could definitely look to jump on that, as Hugo has closed in a little bit on Caleb there, but lost it again. I think that was just based on corner entry and exit from the two drivers.
Alex doesn't get a good exit here, though. He is going to lose the DRS. I think he just got there before the line, just got back within the second, and he did, which is going to help him to defend from Paul Nadler. No, he does. He has the rear wing.
Oh, yeah, he does have it.
Hugo doesn't.
I was watching Hugo.
But Hugo essentially had a full second of advantage, and DRS only worth 2 or 3 tenths down the pit straight. It's not the longest DRS zone on the calendar. It's very useful for overtaking, but it's not overpowered. You can't just about grab onto the end of it and then come sailing past someone. Yeah. Like you can somewhere like Baku. So I think it's a pretty good power level, the DRS around here, where it just allows you to hang on to someone. But these four kind of pulling away a little bit now from Anson, who has completely dropped Alfred. I think Alfred probably had kind of a half spin on that lap and lost a couple of seconds to Anson, which is unfortunate. And a little further back, Lucas Rudd and Lasse Rasmussen, two of our dangerous drivers, making their way up from the back of the grid. They were side by side for around about 2/3 of a lap. Lucas eventually just ceded the place, gave it to Lassie with him being on those medium tyres, and then Lassie promptly span immediately afterwards. And has dropped about 13 seconds off the back of the Mercedes and has been overtaken by his teammate, who is kind of trying to hang on to Lucas. He's also on medium tyres, so should have a little bit of a pace advantage for a couple of laps still, until the hards do become the superior boots to be on. So if he can just close up a few tenths, it's going to allow him to hang on to Lucas, who again only has to close maybe half a second to get on the back of Alfred and try and get pulled up towards the front top 6. And Alex takes a look at Hugo into turn 3, but just can't quite get his Williams alongside. But he is going to have another run here with the DRS a second time around, down into Tori Vip. Gets a pretty good drive through turn 4, but he is quite low on the battery, so won't be able to deploy the ERS to help him pass the Red Bull, and Hugo's going to continue to hang on to P2. There goes a little deep on the exit of Tori Vip, not mine, slightly compromising, but I think Alex had to get out of the throttle to not run into the back of the Red Bull driver. So we're going to stay as we are for another lap, and Lassie's into the pits and putting on some hard boots. I think he's going to try and get these all the way to the end, just running some clean air. Possibly had a little bit of front wing damage, but does find a nice clean patch of track to slot into just ahead of Carl in the Aston Martin. But with that warm-up phase on those hard tyres, this turn 3-4 section is going to be a little tricky, and Carl's smelling blood here as Lassie has a big snap out of 3. And Carl's going to try and go around the outside before the DRS zone. Picks up a 3rd warning for that off track, but that would get removed by the stewards, I think. So if Carl doesn't pick up another warning all race, he could drop back down to 0 seconds worth of penalties. So Lassie now needs to be kind of aware of Theo coming up behind him as well, who's also on some nice toasty hard tyres after his early pit stop. But those hards kind of take a lap and a half, maybe even 2 laps just to get up to temperature. So a little bit of a pain phase for Lassie, but it is going to help him out in the long run, I imagine, as Alfred picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. At turn 2, I think, which is an interesting place to pick up a warning, I have to say.
Maybe he stayed off track a bit longer after extended turn 1, and it sort of just went, nah, we'll give you a penalty still. Caleb's managing to just eke out that gap by a tenth or two each lap at the moment, which is sort of what he needs to do on the mediums, as it'll give him a bit more of a fighting chance towards the end of the race. Obviously he'll be pitting early onto the hards, and then he'll be getting chased down by the likes of Hugo, Alex, Jacob on the mediums. As well, he will have Paul joining him, but Paul's obviously not going to be too close when they both go into the pit lane, which will probably be in about 3 or 4 laps, I would say.
My wear on mediums is around about 4%. They don't really drop off pace-wise until they hit around that 60% mark. Having the hardest 3 compounds at Portimao means that they're pretty durable until they're basically dead. They kind of gain time, if anything, as the fuel burns off quicker than the tyres wear, so they could extend this a little bit. The mediums do tend to be maybe 7 or 8 tenths a lap faster than the hards, if everything's equal. That was what I found anyway. So you would have thought Caleb would maybe be able to build this gap a little bit quicker. So Hugo, I think, just has that bit more pace. Caleb's basically made the move thanks to that tyre advantage. So, but there is a nice big gap between Sam and Jan, 9th and 10th at the moment, which when Caleb and Paul do decide to pit, they should slot nicely into that gap and have a big chunk of clean air to try and hammer some quick laps in on the brand new hard tyres. Try and mitigate this overcut that's definitely going to come out from the guys on hards at the moment. The undercut's pretty powerful here, but the skipping the warm-up phase on the hard tyres is, I think, even stronger.
Yeah, the hard tyres yesterday were losing people 2.5 seconds to 3 seconds on a out lap.
I mean, it takes 2 laps to warm softs up around here. The hards are just horrible on the warm-up. And with the undulation on the track, with already having 3 or 4 very tricky traction zones, it just makes those significantly worse, and you have to lose a bucket of time to make sure the car doesn't go around.
And Alex manages to get the move. Hugo has to run a bit off track. He's going to try and hang his nose in there, but he's not going to be able to do so, as David Hoyt picks up a 3-second time penalty.
Alex's light is flashing though, and Hugo's still got around half his batteries, so if he really wants to deploy some here, he could make a move into Torrey Viv, but I think he's just kind of going to be happy to sit P3 for now. Maybe he's going to wait for the pit stop phase, go a lap longer, and try and get that overcut on. And the slightly fresher tyres towards the end of the race. As Lassie picks up 3 seconds as well, currently running down in 13th place. He's lost a couple of seconds to Carl, but he should start closing back in now those hards are up to temperature. And we'll be looking to go to the end, so if he can get some really, really fast laps in, he might be able to make himself slightly a factor towards the bottom end of the points by the end of this one. So we'll have to keep an eye on Lassie as the remaining 21 laps continue. But I think this front 6 are definitely out of range, even if he's a complete monster on those hards. The gap's just way too big. These guys are very, very consistent, very, very quick. Pumping in some good laps consistently. Alex with a 21.8 just as an example of their pace. Alfred with a 21.9. So these guys at the front are lapping pretty consistently, pretty quickly. Like I say, these tyres really don't fall off. So let's see what kind of laps K do on those mediums actually. Mid 21s, 20.5, 0.6, 0.4, 0.4. But he is on 2 warnings, so needs to kind of be careful to not pick up another one. Which is going to be 3 seconds if he does. Although that currently would win him the race anyway. But that gap is going to come down after he pits, definitely. As Hugo might have got a warning there on the exit of Samsung. Just ran a little off track coming up the hill, trying to straighten the car as much as possible. If you try and accelerate up that hill while the car is turning basically at all, it does like to spit you halfway to Spain. As you've got yellow flags for Carl, who has gone around at turn 1 and 2. So I wonder if he's just caught one of those sausage curbs on the inside, which do tend to send you into orb if you do that. They're crazy high here around Portimao. It's surprising that you can see over them, to be completely honest, with how they feel when you hit them with the tyre.
Anson's managed to close in to the back of Havelski here now, and
wow.
has joined this train.
Massively. Jacob with that DRS down into turn 1 as well.
Hugo. Paul's going to capitalise on that, and that's P3 now for Paul on the mediums. As that
Now that
changes.
the car in front isn't going to have the benefit of DRS as well, Paul needs to try and make a move on Alex this lap if he can. If he's got any pace left in those mediums at all, he needs to close up on the Williams, try and make a move in, kind of into turn 1, and try and close this gap down to Caleb. They are going to be on the same strategy, so it's just going to be a raw difference that Paul's going to have to make up if he hopes to win this race. Though they are on the suboptimal strategy. I think probably they were banking on an early-ish safety car, maybe around lap 6 or 7, to put some hards on, go to the end, which would have given them a massive edge in this race. But essentially a free pit stop that nobody else would have been able to take advantage of. But it's not paid off. We had no safety car yesterday. We've had none for pretty much the first half of this race, so it's looking pretty good for Portimao as a track where people don't get horribly murdered. Although I don't want to speak too soon.
I wonder when we're going to see our first phase of pit stops from the leaders. I think it'll be relatively soon now, as here comes Hebelski now on Hugo, and Hugo's just dropping like a fly down the order.
A little bit of contact with the back of the Alpine, but doesn't appear to have any wing damage. As we have got our first guy in the pits.
Oh, Alfred's gone.
Ooh, that's not going to be great for Williams. They have a guy running in P2. They kind of want to get as many constructors' points as possible. That is going to lose Alfred just the 1 place, though, to Lucas Rudd, as Sam did pit and put some hard boots on, so he is going to be going to the end from here. We'll be hoping to get through that warm-up phase a little better than he did yesterday when he span literally on pit exit.
Yep. Interested to see how much of a benefit Caleb's gaps are going to give him at the moment. He's got a healthy 4-second lead here, which is crucial at this stage of the race for him, I feel.
So I decided to ride on board with Sam just to get a view of Sector 1 on cold hards, just to see the sort of thing that Caleb and Paul are going to have to deal with. And he had 4 separate snaps between leaving the pit lane and turn 3. So that might lose Caleb pretty much all of his 4-second advantage. Yeah, Paul pits first, but Paul is first to blink. We'll be going on to some hard tyres. We'll see. The gap to Caleb was around about 5 seconds. So we'll see what the gap is like once he's done his warm-up lap on hards. I imagine we are going to see Caleb in next time round. Now those tyres probably just about clipping the 60% mark here on his tyre wear, so that's when they do begin to drop off and lose pace. Although he's not losing to the cars behind as of yet. But he's going to have to go on some hard, so it doesn't make sense to wait too long and not get the most of the benefit out of them. As he's lost a couple of tenths through turn 7.
Oh, Jacob Hebelski's gone. That's a spin from the Alpine driver, and that's going to drop him potentially into the clutches of Lucas Rudd as well. His tyres are not overheating. I think it was just a bit more under traction there.
Yeah, but they're going to be pretty toasty now, so he needs to be very careful with the rear of the car. It already feels a bit loose around here at a lot of places. And he has actually underfueled as well, just as a secondary issue for Jacob. So he might have to fuel save. Oh, it's just flashing on and off, so he's dead zero on fuel is Jacob. Everybody else's fuel light is off, apart from Lassie's, who's currently P12. So we might have to see some fuel saving from Lassie, as now we have to see the guys at the front on the hard tyres with Alex, Hugo, and Anson. Going to have to hammer some laps in. Anson's all over the back of Hugo, though. Our current championship leader had his win at Monza reinstated after an appeal, I believe. Or has the result of that not been resolved as of yet?
That's not
managed to win on track at Monza. Had a post-race penalty applied, which dropped him to P2 behind his teammate Caleb. As Caleb has come out into that nice gap between Alfred and Jan after Sam had pit. And the gap is about 4.2 to Paul, although Paul's going to gain in a little bit more here through Sector 1. So pitting a lap earlier has gained Paul maybe 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds already. So it's definitely the undercut here very, very strong if you can deal with that warm-up phase well. Gap between the two of the guys on the brand new hards at just 3 seconds now. So it's kind of going to show just how much Alex and Hugo and Anson are going to close in on Caleb when they do decide to get off their hard tyres and onto some mediums. I don't think we're going to see too much of the soft tyres in the race unless there is a very late safety car. They tend to fall off a cliff. So jump on board, just see what... Yeah, so Caleb's tyres are currently around about 80 degrees, which is not ideal. Where Paul's pushing 90s, so he's on sort of 87, 88. So he's going to have so much more grip, especially on the rears, especially on traction out of the corners.
Oh, Anson's got past Hugo.
We've had a swap. So that is up to P2 for the championship leader, but Hugo's going to have the DRS down into Tory Vip. He's going to take a look at a move, pulls out, but just not quite close enough. Although Anson runs a little deep, but that is going to give him a better exit out of turn 5 there and is going to consolidate the overtake for our championship leader. Hugo was doing really, really well first of the hard runners and has just lost kind of a chunk of pace. He's lost about 3 seconds to Alex already in the course of about 4 or 5 laps. Really needs to not throw this race away, Hugo. Yeah, the gap between Caleb and Paul are just down to 2 seconds now. That should kind of stabilize it, Caleb.
The gap...
As Hugo makes a move on Anson through the second last corner. That's
no, he doesn't.
brave.
He doesn't.
Oh, he did on my screen, and then it's disconnected.
Yeah, I was going to say you completely cut out. Anyways, taking over. No one's into the pit lane yet. I feel like this is the lap where everyone will be pitting on lap 19. It's probably the best lap to pit. 14 laps on mediums is just about right. You're not going to start hitting that 60% range where the tyres will become a bit awful. As Alfred Monk has gone into the pit lane first. We'll see where he re-emerges in the race as Hugo not interested in making a move on Anson. Just focusing on his own race here at the moment. As they've dropped to about 3 seconds behind Alex now, who's having some really good pace at the end of this hard stint, which is going to really benefit him in the fight for the win here, as the gap between Paul and Caleb has stabilised at about 2 seconds at the moment. So I think once the medium runners start jumping into that, it's going to really change things as Hugo has a massive snap, and I think it's definitely time to come in for the Red Bull driver now. As he's just going to get DRS, but he seems to have absolutely no grip as his yellow flags for Jan Nader in the Aston Martin. As David Hoyt also now exiting the pit lane. Alex Wells is in. Anson's in, and Hugo stays out.
Yeah, I think Hugo there had to do the opposite of Anson to try and make an overcut work here. Which he might get the chance to do, though that tyre warm up on the mediums a bit better than the hards, but it's still going to lose Anson some time. And the possibility that he gets potentially caught up with some traffic, although Lucas Rudd has pit as well, so he would have been the first person to think about in terms of traffic. But Caleb, I think he's going to jump ahead, stay ahead of these two. He's done pretty well on that hard warm up and is going to regain the lead in terms of the guys that have stopped. But Alex is going to have Paul all over the back of him. Paul's going to look for the move to the inside. Just about makes that hard stint work. And gets ahead of the Williams driver and up into a net P2. Though Alex is going to have the DRS, but I'm pretty sure he just did get the traction off turn 4 to really make a move. So it's still going to be these four. And that little fight behind has allowed Caleb to pull an extra second out of Paul. Pull that gap back up to about 3.2. And he's just 19.3 off the lead. It's about 24 seconds for a pit stop. So Hugo's going to be about 4 seconds off, which is going to put him right in that batch with Paul and Alex. Although potentially ahead of Anson. Anson seems to have lost some time on this lap. As Hugo is staying out again. So Hugo looking to go long.
What about Habelski? Habelski's coming straight in. I could already tell where he's lining out the final corner. So Hugo's going to be in the lead for now. However, there is...
Hugo's tyres chilling in the low 90s, so tyre wear should be pretty solid. But he is losing a decent chunk of time.
where's Hebelski? Hebelski's about 10 seconds off the lead, it seems, I think. Or the lead pack. As Anson has closed in. And I think it's all going to be about Alex needs to get a move on Paul Natler, otherwise Anson's going to hassle him. I think as the medium runners do need to get ahead as quick as possible here.
You will be hoping for these three to fight so he can slot back out in P3, in P2 when he does pit. But he needs to find another, probably a second on these guys. So if Alex tries a daft move and goes somewhere side by side with Paul, that could gain him that time.
Hopefully he's not going to try dive into Portugal.
There was nothing wrong with that. You and Quill had a seizure as Hugo stays out again. So he's going very long. I hope Hugo's not thinking softs.
If he's thinking softs, his race is in the bin.
I mean, they're quick for like 3 laps, and then they're basically the mediums for like 5, and then they're dead. So if he goes very long, they could be beneficial, but he might have to get defensive on the final lap.
Alex is going to look for the move here on Paul. And
it's going to be quite an easy one, I think, for the Williams driver. Manages to pull back pretty much to the racing line, leaves Paul space so he can see the apex and where he's going. But there's going to be a nice, simple move. Is Paul going to have the traction up turn 4 to maybe make a run back? They're fairly even on battery. And Alex just gets a better drive, and so does Anson. And we might see an Alfa Romeo here down the inside into Tori Vip.
And
tiny bit of contact, I think, but Paul's just going to get a way better exit, straddling that curb on the exit. But I think Anson's just about maybe going to hold on to this. He's going to get a better drive up the outside of Samsung if he can keep the car nice and straight. But Paul driving very well, just leaves Anson exactly the minimum amount of space on the outside and just kind of compromised his exit a little bit and manages to maintain P4, but it has dropped him out of the DRS range of Alex. Hugo's in. So I think Hugo might slot into this little gap here between Alex and Paul. And that's going to make it pretty spicy with his warm-up phase.
Hugo's going to be behind.
It is mediums.
Hugo's mediums are going to be fresh.
Oh yeah. About 24 seconds for a pit stop, and he was exactly 24 seconds ahead of Paul.
Here we go, Anson going for the move right now. If Hugo's exiting the pits, it could be 3 wide, it could be. Hugo has almost spun out the pit lane, and that's right on the line from him. But
trying to get on the power, but I think that will escape a penalty as he lost a fair chunk of time by doing it. It was not an intentional crossing of the line. We'll have to see if anyone reports it and what Liam's decision is on that one, but it is going to rejoin in 5th place, although he is going to have the tyre advantage as he does a bit of weaving on the run down to Tori Vip to try and get some temperature in those as quickly as possible. He can't allow Anson and Paul to get away. Needs to try and hang on to this DRS if he can. As Carl's pitting as well from 12th place, which is going to drop him behind his teammate and David Hoyen to the back of the pack. But maybe a quick spurt for fastest lap here from the Aston Martin driver.
Maybe Hugo's also going for the fastest lap by pitting later.
No, potentially, and he should get DRS assistance to do it within a couple of laps. He's done pretty well on the warm-up phase, though. He's only lost about a 10th through that middle sector. So maybe the half spin out of the pit lane was tactical to warm his rears up. As he's actually gained a couple of tenths through the final rear corner as well to get him onto the back almost of Paul and Anson.
This is yellow flags for Cole. He's
not doing well with the warm-up phase.
And he's going to be under pressure to get lapped here from the lead.
He's going to get lapped by Caleb at least, and probably going to get some blue flags here to Alex as well, as he's just pulling off the racing line, letting Alex go. He has no front wing, so no reason for Cal to try and stay on the lead lap, because he's going to have to pit again and go behind all these guys anyway. So good driving there from the Aston Martin, that's what we like to see, respecting the blue flags, and Hugo has managed to close into the DRS range of Paul and Anson.
Paul's got a
as Paul picks up 3 seconds on the exit of Samsung, that's going to drop him only down 1 place. They've got quite a gap, this front 5, back to 6th place Lucas Rudd, who's having another very, very solid race from the back of the grid, as he did yesterday. But he is going to come under some pressure from Jacob Babelski within these final 9 laps. especially if he keeps getting snaps like that on the exit of Portimao. It's not going to end well for the Mercedes driver. But we'll have to see, can Paul or Hugo potentially make a move down the pit straight, as Carl's had another spin with no front wing. It doesn't make it easy, as Anson's weaving off the line to try and break the toe.
Oh,
Gets away a little bit.
I might have been a
Paul
second.
didn't get near him.
Oh, Paul's gone!
Oh!
Oh, that was close. He did not go, so that must have been terrifying for Hugo.
That's what we like to hear. Terrifying for Hugo. That's exactly how we like it. But that is... Carl's binned it. Is this going to be... Oh, no, he's in the pits. That's fine, that's fine. Thought it might be a safety car, but it's just a retirement in the pits. Safety car would really spice this up.
Lucas Rudd's got DRS on Paul now, and that just shows what one spin can do. He's all the way down, fighting with Fabelski as well, so he could even finish as low as 7th.
Well, Fabelski's the only one out of these three that doesn't have a penalty, so currently he will be taking P5 for Alpine, but it's never too late for a spin at Portimao.
As that has just improved.
It's tricky on tyre warm-up, it's tricky once they start wearing.
It's tricky.
There's a fair few curbs and sausage curbs around here where you can hit them and they'll just spit you out.
David's had a spin.
David's had a worse race than yesterday, which we didn't think was possible.
The gap at the front is no longer closing as much as it was, but a gap that is closing is Hugo on Anson. But he doesn't have battery. But I think he's still going to go for it. Yep, Hugo's going for it.
Quite a lot to get in the DRS.
Oh, that's contact! That was close.
Tires. Just a tricky corner to leave space on the outside there. I think everyone's going to get away with that with no damage, though. So we'll continue as we are. Hugo gets a better drive up turn 4, though. And he's going to look for the move DRS assisted into Torrey Vip. Anson brakes a slight bit later, which you can do on the outside line. And might get better traction, but Hugo has got that inside line. Although it's going to turn into the inside for Anson through turn 7. If he can just keep the car there, I think he just maybe backed out of that, let Hugo go. He is showing some pretty good pace on these medium tyres. They are going to be probably about 10% less worn than the guys around him, so it should definitely help the Red Bull out. Although now he's got 3.6 seconds to close in on Alex Wells. And Alex just 3/10 outside of Caleb's DRS as we've got another spin, and that is Jan Nadir at the back. So not a great race today for Aston Martin. They were so close to double points last week. Unfortunately not going the same way this week. Just 1.1 at the front, and Anson's hanging on to Hugo, 8/10 back, but he is going to get DRS down this pit straight, but not going to be close enough to make a move, although...
Time for us to start asking questions. Can Alex win on his debut here?
Oh, he's just had a massive gain through turn 3 and then lost a lot of it through the exit.
And Lucas has made a move on Paul.
Lucas has made a move on Paul.
But then he's gone flying off track at turn 1.
Well, probably got a warning, and he already has a penalty, so can't really afford too many of those. And Paul's going to get a better drive through turn 4 though and look to come back out the Mercedes driver with the DRS down into Torrey Vip, but no battery in the Haas and plenty in that Mercedes to defend the position if he chooses to. Doesn't need to use it, just manages to keep P5 for now.
The gap at the front is now just 8/10, and is still closing even more, although Alex went slightly deep there. But I think he's still going to just about get DRS.
Just had to hesitate on the exit of Portimao. And yeah, it runs a little deep through the final left-hander, but should get a much better drive off this right-hander here. Caleb actually gets a great drive out there and gains another 10th on traction, which he's on hard tyres. That's not supposed to work.
Neither of them have any battery, barely.
I think Caleb maybe just keeping Alex at an arm's length for a bit, just seeing what he can do. If Alex picks up a penalty, we might see Caleb just kind of let him go.
Oh, Hugo, that's not what you want to do at turn 1. He's gone flying over the sausage curb.
He's still facing the right way though, so he's done better than I did in quali. There's a sound pick for 3 seconds. So similar to yesterday, we've got about half the grid with no penalties, and everyone else is kind of racking them up.
Oh, Sam Williams retired in the pit lane.
Died in the pit lane, so unfortunate there for the Ferrari driver. Probably picked up damage with that running off track, or maybe he just had too many penalties to feel like he could have held on for picking up some points in F2. After he got 10 points yesterday in F3, which was only his second points finish and easily his best. Would have been looking for points here today, but unfortunately it's not to be for the Ferrari driver.
It's been a spin for Jan, as
Hugo's closed about 3/10 on the front two this lap, but Alex has closed in on Caleb and he's just 7/10 back. As they're lapping the Aston Martin of Jan, and there's going to be yellow flags at turn 2, so if Alex wants to make this move, he needs to make it into turn 1, but I think he's just going to be too far back. Kind of just getting dragged along a little bit by the DRS. They were stay the hell away from Hugo, I think.
the laps are counting down now.
Well, Hugo has a big snap through turn 1 on the exit, and that's going to put Anson right on his gearbox again.
It's 2 laps in a row for Hugo, as both Astons have now retired from the race. Meaning there's 11 left, and well for David, one mistake from anyone and he gets points.
Which after how his race is
Oh, Alex is...
good result.
Why is
Alex
Alex
has lost a
ghosted?
chunk of time. Is he disconnected, maybe?
Oh no. I think he's gone.
Are you able to potentially invite him? I don't have him added.
Neither, no.
And only Hugo can as host. The way the car is taking corners and
Alex is
not having any
disconnected, I
twitchy
think.
bits, he is definitely a spooky ghost, I think.
Uh,
That is very unfortunate for the Williams driver on debut. And we can't really ask Hugo to pause his game and invite him.
that is going to essentially gift Caleb to it. He's AO's pit!
Oh, of course it has. Of course it has.
And
Now
he's
he's
destroyed.
back in the session.
Oh, that's
That is an
heartbreak
absolute
for him.
crusher. Hopefully the AI puts him on softs though, and you can at least... Yeah, the AI is putting him on softs, so he'll at least get a fastest lap. And there's this nice chunk of 3 in front of him, 2 of which have penalties. So there is the potential to recover a P4 if he can get past Jacob Abelski. But he's going to need to get a bit of a wriggle on here, as he's going to come out alongside his teammate. Hopefully Alfred plays the team game and just kind of lets him go. But back out the front, the gap opened up now to 4.2, so there's been a mistake somewhere from Hugo. He was closing in
Alex
on
picked
Caleb,
up a
as
penalty.
Alex now picks up a penalty as well for his troubles. So maybe a little bit of frustration there from the Williams driver,
That's
which
not
is
unfortunate right at the
understandable.
end. We've been robbed off a fight for the win, potentially.
Yeah. Whoa, and he's gone round at Samsung.
Oh.
Still has the chance for that fastest lap though, as Alfred picks up another 3 seconds, so that puts him on 9. And Lassie's managed to overtake Alex, who has left the session again. I wonder if that's another disconnect potentially. But Anson's sticking with Hugo, just not really able to make a move, as
Ooh,
Lucas has
Lucas
gone
has
round at the
gone
final
round.
corner. So that's going to release Paul and Jacob. So this could be a P4 for Jacob, which he was a long way down at the start, so that is going to go down as a good result, I think, for the Alpine driver.
Alfa Romeo again.
Yeah, first and third, and Anson might try a move somewhere.
One day.
Well, he's just been sitting on the battery and just charging it back up, knowing he can stick with Hugo. He's on 65% charge.
Yeah, that is
So it would not surprise me if he makes a move into turn 1 on the second last lap and just streaks off on that final circuit, as Hugo has to hesitate on the exit of Portimao as he ran very slightly off track. So just wants to avoid a warning coming out of that one. Anson can just keep so much tighter lines, even though he's on older tyres.
Let's see then. Oh, that was an interesting one from Anson. He was right all over the curb. Now closing right up to the back of the Red Bull.
Yeah, deployed some of that battery, got down to about 40%, but Hugo's hovering around 10. So he isn't going to be able to deploy to defend if Anson does go for a move to secure a second consecutive Alfa Romeo 1-2 and really take a stranglehold over the constructors.
Oh, pole's gone.
Oh, that's going to gift Jacob 4th place and might put Lucas, even after his spin, into a pretty solid 5th, as Paul's going to have to cool those tyres off a little bit. But he should be safe from Alfred Monk behind, with Alfred having those 9 seconds of penalties. There's another yellow flag. That's David again. He's going to be dizzy by the end of this race.
Well, we're
not just from driving around in the circle.
Anson's got a penalty.
Picked 3 seconds. So Hugo can kind of chill it here. He doesn't have to care if Anson does make the move, as long as Hugo doesn't pick up a penalty himself.
Just saying something. Caleb's been on 2 warnings since, what was it, lap 9? You said at the start.
Yeah, it was pretty early. It was pretty early. Let's take a full look at the Caleb's race director again. His warnings were on laps 6 and 8, and he hasn't had one.
He hasn't had one.
I think I did all race yesterday with 1.
Just
so
about to say.
It's doable. Yeah, Hugo's got, it says 3 warnings. I imagine 1 must be for contact because he doesn't have a penalty. Oh no, 1 is on his outlaps. That will be for crossing the white line of pit exit. So Hugo needs to be careful to not pick up another warning. Anson needs to get this move done, and then hope Hugo has to go off track somewhere.
He's got no battery.
Yeah, he's burnt all of it, but Hugo just about manages to hang on.
So
we are on this final lap.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just watching Caleb cruise it home now. Hugo is really starting to hammer into that gap, but I think Caleb's just taking every corner nice and slowly.
Yeah, Caleb wants to make 100% sure he doesn't get a penalty. He didn't even touch the curb on either the entry or exit of Portimao. So he's just being very safe to make sure he doesn't get a penalty. Now he's got a nice big chunk to play with. He wants to make sure he doesn't spin and doesn't pick up that final warning. Can just cruise it home to the line, deploy the last of his battery if he really wants to. And it is going to be a victory for the Alfa Romeo of Caleb White. A second victory in a row after he got the one on penalties at Monza. Hugo comes home P2, so breaks his streak of scoring 1 point extra every race by taking 18 instead of 13 here. And Anson is going to take P3, even with that penalty. Jacob Abelski, with a good recovery drive, manages to take P4, but 12.5 seconds off the podium. And Lucas Rudd, F3 driver, takes P5, ahead of the Haas of Paul Nadler. Alfred Monk, P7 for Williams. And then we're going to get Theo Smith coming over the line another 17 seconds back for Mercedes, followed by the very spooky now Alex Wells, who had a very unfortunate disconnect. Will score points, because I'm pretty sure he did more than 90% of the race before it disconnected him.
It was like 29.
Yeah, I think we can give him the 2 points for that, as Lassie's going to come and take the final point. There were a few early spins and a sort of necessary early pit stop, but manages 25 laps on the hard tyres, and they seemed okay at the end, and David's going to cross the line to finish us off. Oh,
I think.
Yeah, it was a 19.5, so probably.
Yeah. Driver of the day goes to Lucas Rudd from the game.
I think it either has to be Lucas as an F3 driver with a quali ban to P5, or Caleb for just, well, in mind on the right strategy, but managed to make it work. And take a second consecutive win for Alfa Romeo, regardless of what happens with the penalty for Anson in Monza. There's going to be Caleb White taking the win from Hugo Nilsson and Anson Wong, rounding out another double podium for Alfa Romeo, so they're kind of romping away with this one a little bit here in the Constructors. Jacob Abelski, though, recovery drive to P4 after being a decent amount down at the early on in the race. Got back to where he started on the grid, so did pretty well. And yeah, Lucas Rudd from 13th on the grid finishes P5 as an F3 driver.
Would you like to invite some people for the interviews then?
We can if you would like, and yeah, David's going to get 1 point for that fastest lap right at the end.
be so then. That's the top 3.
But
we can see.
yes, I have pinged them. See you who says yay and nay. No, Hugo's in for it. Garcia's.
We have our nice fancy interview graphic there instead. Woo.
Ooh.
Hello.
Hello, Hugo.
Hello, Hugo.
Oh my god. Ah.
Seem a bit tired.
Tired, disappointed. Whatever. The worst thing about it was like my qualifying pace. I put in my pole lap in my second run, and I was thinking that nobody is surely going to beat this when I had my 5 times advantage. So I wasn't really feeling like I wanted to go out another time, did it, invalidated it, and it didn't really affect anything since I didn't use the softs later on either way. But qualifying good. The race stint, the first stint was kind of shit. I felt like we should have needed to work together a bit more. That was left kind of by Caleb, since Caleb was running away on the mediums, and us fighting and people trying to send it on me every lap wasn't really ideal, which just made us lose time. Like going too wide through 1, 2, 3 there is surely losing us like, I mean, 3-4 tenths to Caleb, who just ran away with it and had a great first stint, which was what won him the race, and like super fair play to that.
Yeah, the qualifying lap was pretty mental. He just seemed to have a bit of a drop off on the sort of the second half of the hard stint, which kind of opened you up to everyone and allowed Caleb to pull that gap that he definitely, I think, needed.
Yeah.
The warm up stint on the hards was not great. Don't know how much you were keeping track of the gaps, but with Caleb and Paul being the only two at the front who were pitting onto those hard tires, Paul pitting 1 lap earlier actually gained 2 seconds on Caleb, just from the warm up being a lap earlier.
No, I wasn't keeping track. I just had had a look on my minimap to see how the other guys were doing, because my plan was always to go 1 lap further because, well, I had to do something, and I forgot to check where I was supposed to pit before the race, which was kind of a fuck up. But so I just went, like, my plan was to pit 1 lap after the others, but when I saw on the minimap that just Caleb left and the others were, I mean, they were kind of fighting, I believe. So I just stayed out as long as possible, hoping for a safety car and, trying to overcut them because they lost time, hopefully. But I had a massive snap coming out of the pits, and I don't know if you saw that on stream, but I almost spun coming out the pits.
We did.
Across the white line.
We did. Yeah, you got a warning from the game for crossing the pit line. So whether someone reports that or Liam decides to penalise it as it is a sporting infraction.
I mean, he can do whatever. I did fuck up, but it was like, if you look at it, it wasn't a crossing the white line to gain advantage. I almost spun.
No, yeah, exactly. Like, you lost time in that.
Yeah. So whatever. But yeah, congratulations to Caleb for winning.
Yeah. Cheers.
Right, so moving over to Caleb then, a race that looked like it was going to go down to the wire. Then unfortunately for Alex, you disconnected. However, very, very strong pace from yourself today, and well, you deserve to be in the spot you were in. And yeah, talk us through how the race was from your perspective.
So I got on the grid, forgot I could change my strategy, so the game started me on mediums. I had to get to the front and get clear because I had the gap. I needed a gap for the pits. But I pitted a lap later than Paul. That was sort of always going to be my plan. Go 1 lap later than the guy in second. I didn't think it'd gain him 3 seconds, but yeah. I think I was slower towards the end. I had that one warning left. I was just making sure I kept the car straight, didn't go anywhere near the curbs to risk getting a penalty or anything. So I'm happy with that. That's back-to-back double podiums, pulling clear in the constructors still, and I think that's the championship fight's interesting still.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
seems
mean,
to be
it's
a.
pretty close with the top 4 in the championship standings. With Rogerwell unfortunately not racing today, that does kind of open you and Anson up a little bit at the top to try and pull a bit of a gap, which, especially with strength in the constructors as well, is probably going to allow you to play a little bit of team games these last 4 races or so.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, just keep doing this every week because I think we were close with Ferrari, and then we've got 2 double podiums. And I don't know what's happened. So I sort of looking at the map, seeing people battle behind me, and that's what I needed for that race to work for me, and it did. So I'm happy with that result. I think the guy in second who disconnected probably had me without that disconnect, but that's unlucky for him, not for me. But you know.
Yeah, it was Alex was looking pretty strong, and then just well, connections. And you can't really control those. Is extremely unfortunate, especially on his debut. But hopefully he'll be back next week and fighting for that win again.
Yep, that's the plan.
So France next week. How are you two and Anson? If you've spoken about France, I don't know, Caleb. How are you guys feeling about Circuit Paul Ricard?
France is probably my best track, and I love it. So I'm gonna DNF on lap 1.
I feel like the opposite probably, but for some reason I just tend to put in a pole lap when I don't like the track, and then just disappear in the race, I suppose. But yeah, it's such a dull track in my opinion. But you know, a lot of runoff, which is something. So that might just keep you in the race, Caleb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gonna have to put in the hours now to catch up because now I got a bit scared. If I want to join the title fight, I need to get a move on.
There's plenty of races left.
No, there isn't. 4 races.
Only 4 and a sprint.
4 and a
See,
sprint,
like,
and I
Mm,
didn't score the
that's
first four races because I didn't race, and now I might be missing Brazil because it's Valentine's Day, so I don't know if the missus will let me race.
wait, what race is on Valentine's?
Brazil, the title finale with a sprint.
I'm not here.
So that is not ideal.
Yeah. All right. Well, cheers, boys.
Cheers.
For this.
See you.
Yeah. See you again next week. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Hopefully you
Bye-bye.
will be on the podium again and back here next week.
Yep. Yeah.
See you.
So, that is the end of the stream here for Portimao. Hopefully you all enjoyed as viewers. And, well, we will be back tomorrow with action from F1. And then, well, same time next week, you'll be able to watch F2 again, if that's all you prefer to watch. Which, I mean, yeah, I don't know what to really say about that. But yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye.